Hello, and welcome to another video in a series called Should You Play It?, in which I talk about a game that's recently come out and hopefully give you enough information to decide whether or not it's for you. Today we're talking about We Are Doomed, a colourful and fast-paced twin-stick shooter from the brilliant indie team Vertex Pop. Now if you've seen my videos before, this all might seem a bit familiar, and that'd be because the last video I did like this was actually about another Vertex Pop game, Graceful Explosion Machine, which was absolutely fantastic. I'm kind of breaking my own rules here about doing recently released games because We Are Doomed actually came out a few years back, but it's just been released as a free game on PlayStation Plus for September, and if Graceful Explosion Machine was anything to go by, it would be a waste to let this one fly under the radar. So, let's get right into it. We Are Doomed all takes place in this rectangular arena in which you kill enemies and avoid being killed. That's pretty much the game. Don't let its simplicity fool you though, there's a certain depth in this simplicity which gives the game much more from a gameplay perspective than it might seem from the outside. There are two modes you can play. One of them is just a standard set of 30 waves, and the other is an endless mode. The game employs twin-stick shooting, as I said, which works very intuitively in games where you have limited space to move around in, because it gives you ultimate freedom for both mobility and weapon usage. You can squeeze through a tiny gap while shooting in another direction to open up more space very easily, and it works really, really well. If you've never played a game with this control style, it doesn't take long at all to get used to, which means that there's a certain amount of entry-level accessibility with the game. There's only one weapon, which is this mental laser beam, which seems initially to be pretty overpowered, but you'll quickly learn as waves come and come that it's not as OP as you initially think. There are these purple squares that appear sporadically as you play, and these help you to boost your multiplier and to prepare your super beam, a temporary and much deadlier version of your normal laser beam. Given the sheer number of enemies that are on the screen most of the time, all of these things combine to create a pretty engaging game experience. You want to collect these purple squares to build up your super beam, but you also have to make your way through a barrage of enemies at the same time, whilst also watching your back and making sure you don't get surrounded or cornered. It's simple in concept, but quite difficult in practice. It isn't the most innovative or groundbreaking game I've ever played, but it doesn't need to be. The game knows what it is, what kind of experience it wants to give the player, and it delivers it. It does the basics right, and that's important. The other thing that I think is worth mentioning if you're considering getting this game doesn't really have anything strictly to do with the game's mechanics, but rather the feel you get as you play. Feel is a weird word in relation to games because it's inherently very difficult to define, but in the context of We Are Doomed, there's a very distinct feel that the game provides you with. For a game that's so mental, with so much going on the screen, with constant danger surrounding you, it's an oddly chilled out experience. The feel I got with this game was very much a zen kind of feeling, which was really nice actually. I'll bring up Graceful Explosion Machine as a point of comparison here, because I never zoned out in that game. You always have to be attentive, strategizing, thinking of your best move, and it culminates in a really fantastic gaming experience, but not a relaxing one. We Are Doomed, however, contrary to its name, was all about that relaxed feel for me. It may come across as a negative point towards the game to say that I wasn't paying attention, but that's not quite right. It was more that you very quickly hit a point in each run where you stop actively thinking about your choices and let your reflexes kind of take over for you. This makes it a perfect game for short bursts, or when you want to play something but nothing that's going to be a huge time sink or something that's too intense. At this point it's also worth mentioning the music, because it's just fantastic, and it's what helps build this individual feel the game has. It's a more ambient and understated style than I heard in Graceful Explosion Machine, but it complements the game and the feel of the game perfectly. It's really well done. It's worth saying that this is not the kind of game you'll probably binge on for hours and hours, by the way. It's the kind of game that profits most from coming back to again and again, every so often, to play a few rounds. This is helped too by the fact that it's on both PS4 and Vita, as well as other consoles, which means that you have accessibility to the game on the go. I've tried it on both PS4 and Vita, and I'll say that there isn't really much difference aside from pure preference. Given the type of game it is, I feel like it works slightly better on the handheld. It makes it easier to take in the whole screen at once, but it is a perfectly pleasant experience on a bigger screen too. So now I think I've given you the relevant info for the game, I'll chime in with my own perspective. Should you play We Are Doomed? Yes, I'd say so. Considering it's free for this month, there's no loss to be had here. I think it's without doubt an enjoyable game, and perfect for playing every so often when you have time to spare, or when you want to just kind of chill out or relax. If you're not watching this in September 2017 and you want to know if you should play it, then my answer is a bit different. It's not that you shouldn't play it, it's definitely worth playing, but that if you like the look of this, I'd recommend Graceful Explosion Machine instead. Both are good, both have their differences and merits, but I would argue that hypothetically, if you were going to pay for only one of them and not both, Graceful Explosion Machine is definitely the way to go. Check out my video on that if you want some more info on the game. And with that, we've come to the end of the video. Thank you very much for watching. If you agree or disagree or want to see me talk about something else, please do leave a comment and let me know. And if you enjoyed this video, please consider leaving a like or subscribing. It would really help me and the channel out. Thanks again, and hopefully see you in the next one.